Welcome back, everyone. It's been a little bit of an absence for me, unfortunately. Just the weird gap in the schedule that happens every year where you have people going back to college and sports haven't exactly started up yet for the fall, but getting started now. And so glad to be joined by Coach Pelletier here at John Stark High School. Beautiful field, beautiful backdrop, as you can see behind me. So very excited. Thanks for coming on, Coach.
Oh, appreciate it. Appreciate you reaching out to me.
Yeah, for sure. So let's get started with Nashua High School. That's where you went. Yep. I think that's before the split, right?
Most definitely. Nashua High back then, we were a beast at every sport. I mean, you can imagine the amount of athletes we had. So just making a sports team at Nashua High back in that day, you were pretty good. But baseball, we were very solid. We, won some championships, shortly after I left, and had guys, get as far as the major leagues. So growing up in Nashua, sports was big, and you always had a lot of competition, and it was very competitive, and that definitely helped me out. My main position through my right up through my junior year was catcher, which I think has been awesome for me as a coach. I feel that being a catcher is very advantageous to being able to read the game and things going on, because you had that perspective from back there. My last year I moved to first base because the kid behind me was getting scouted, and he eventually got drafted by the New York Yankees. Wow. So I did not have a problem with that. I actually really liked first base. I wasn't the tallest first baseman, but I got the hit, and I really enjoyed the low throws and things like that. So it was fun. And then played Coffee Post Legion for years, playing at Homan Stadium in the summer, all night games. The stands were always packed. It was an awesome thing, and I truly relish all those days. Got a little hint of ball after that, playing with Hampshire Tech College down in Nashua. We were runner-ups in the Yankees Small Conference Championship that year, but they don't even have a team anymore. But it was pretty cool. It's the same division that NHTI's in and stuff like that. So that was a fun little run with them, and I've continued to play with over 20 teams for years, and we had a great run with that too. Going down to Virginia Beach and playing down there was awesome. But the coaching stuff really took off when I moved to Weare, and my friend Matt Lebrecht's like, "Hey, you've always been into baseball. Why don't you come help me coach Babe Ruth?" And he was the manager, but I was the guy calling the pitches, doing that stuff, and I really started to like it. And then a year after that, the school here and at Bedford High School both had JV coach opening, and at my office they trimmed us down to 32 hours just going to be for a short while. They said needing that income. I'm like, all right, I need to find that extra income, and I'm like, why not apply to coach? And almost every single one of my friends said he's taking the Bedford job. I mean, how can you not? They're just loaded with athletes. But I just moved to Weare, and I wanted to start being part of the community, and both my daughters were eventually going to go to school at John Stark, and plus, at that time they went 12, 13, 4, who knows how many years without even qualifying for the playoffs. So I was like, well, the only place you can go is up. So 1 year as a JV coach, varsity coach, a week after I take the JV job, says I'm leaving next year if you want the job. And at the time, I don't think there was a lot of applicants for the job here. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, seriously, out here. And the program had struggled for so long that there wasn't a lot. And I got my shot, and from year 1 to year 10, we've made the playoffs every year since.
So what goes into turning around a program?
I think the coach has to be very dedicated. I don't think you can coach high school baseball for 3 months, walk away, and your program be very successful, unless you're in a town that has very adequate resources, a big pool to pull from, and strong Legion, strong other things like that. This had nothing. We created a team called the Weare Nationals, and we started with that for a little bit. We had some Hopkinton kids that played there that were great guys. We built that. That was an independent league. Then we eventually moved to Junior Legion, then to Senior Legion. We went down to Junior for the last 2 years just because of the age of our players. But I think getting a lot of the kids an opportunity to play in the summertime and playing with each other, I think it's so valuable. I don't think parents fully understand from that perspective how valuable it has these kids to be working with each other so much and getting to know each other. And it was great. We've been a consistent top 5 team now for years here at John Stark, and we have like 600 kids at the school. Most schools at this size, you go up and down. You have your, your really good classes that come in, and then some that don't, be it they're not as strong, but we've managed to make it through those waves. And, I proudly say we've been the strongest boys athletic team here for quite some time now, and I'm very proud of that. And we put a lot of effort into it. The only time of year I really don't do anything with them is now. Technically, I'm not allowed to by the NHIA rules. So, but I don't really want them, doing too much in the fall. It's a good time to rest, and we get them going in January in workouts and stuff. And we had a super dedicated team this year, but we've had some dedication too. We have a lot of kids that buy in, a lot of kids that are good friends, so they like playing baseball together, so that's helped a lot too. But the initial starting of getting them to do more than just the 3 months and then throwing your glove away, that was massive for us. And, that's been probably the biggest piece. That, and I knew people in the younger levels and stayed in touch with them, helped the middle school hire a baseball coach a couple times, talked to the Babe Ruth coaches. It was really good. It's a little harder now with so many people focused on travel teams going here and there, and I think the team aspect breaks a little bit on that, but these kids are also getting really good playing all the time. So it's really helped us as well from that end.
So what's your overall feeling, because you've been coaching for a while now, just in the evolution of the game and the evolution of sports at the high school level, from what it used to be when you were in high school to what it is now?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are different. One of the coaches I had was BJ Neverett, won many state championships in baseball, was a tough as nails football coach. I love the guy, and he's, I'd be walking into someplace in Nashua, and he'd be able to pick me out and say, I remember you from anywhere. And, I was hitting in the adult league, and he just saw my swing and was like, I saw your swing and knew it was you. But guys like that, I think would struggle nowadays. I have some theories that it has to be a different approach, and you have to adapt. You have to adapt to even smaller segments of kids as they're growing up. Different groups react to certain things. As a coach, the most important thing and difference from then is the adaptation to the emotional side of things with the current athlete. I think that's really, really important. And, we try to relate with the players and try to talk to every single player every day. I don't get to do it. Field hockey was tough when you have 30 kids compared to 13, 14 with baseball, but, made that effort. But, you're not there to be their best friend either. You're there to be a leader, so sometimes you got to be tough with them. A lot of times these type of days, I'll start with something that they're doing well, go to the critique, and finish off what fixing that critique is going to do for you and turn you into an excellent player. Being able to coach boys and girls at this age, there are definitely some differences. The same philosophies are there in the same ways that I go about my business, especially the research and the strategy going into games and all that. But my favorite line that coach told me a few years ago was, girls need to feel well to play well. And it was so true. Boys need to play well to feel well. You can have a boy that goes 0 for 4, 3 strikeouts, he leaves miserable, even though the team won 10-0. Girls, on the other hand, emotionally, that we really worked with them to feel positive going into a game about them, about themselves. And when you struggle with that, you have to get into that. But now I'm seeing more and more boys on that side of the ledger, and been able to work through that. It's been great experience for me. The more I coach, the more I learn, and I learn something new every day coaching. But I think that's why, and I'm open to adapting to stuff. It's not, hey, this is what I did 8 years ago, so we're going to stick with it. There are drills now in baseball that I used to never do 5 years ago. There were things I used to swear by then we never do now, because I'm like, there's no way. I'm not going to do that. And I think that's important. You have to keep an open mind and not be so stubborn and set in your ways to do that. And I think a lot of times it's good to have a good assistant coach. Baseball's tough in Division II. I don't have a paid assistant coach, so I'm by myself a lot. So I don't have that voice. But Legion, I have good coaches with me. Field hockey, I had a dynamite assistant coach with me for years, and she was great. We used to argue a lot, but I was good. I didn't want a yes ma'am, and it was great. And what we accomplished in 8 years of field hockey is just mind-boggling. That this school used to lose every game every year except for one in its history. And just sitting at Dunkin' Donuts one day, scribbling some notes about field hockey, me and Gretchen got the athletic club, the Weare Athletic Club, to start, hey, we're gonna do field hockey here. We were lucky, a lot of the girls that were friends tried it together and loved it. But to where the last 2 seasons, winning 2 state championships and losing 1 game in 2 years by 1 goal, wow, was amazing. Just to go from that point where they couldn't even win games to now we're most people are jealous of what we have in Weare now, because they have kids playing from 1st and 2nd grade up, which baseball, we've always had that. So the transition of taking the baseball program and building it to where it is today was a little easier because we had some awesome athletes on the baseball team, really good baseball players. It just was never put together, to that level and dedication. And when the kids see how dedicated the coach is, they're going to start being very dedicated. Field hockey, there was basically nothing. So it took a lot of work and a lot of people along the way. My assistant coaches that helped me out, Nicole and Kate and Gretchen, they were very vital in working very closely with the middle school. And we were able to talk with New England College, which was a great bonus for us, having New England College down the street. Mm-hmm. Gretchen and I were able to meet with the coaching staff, and eventually one of the coaches started a club program out of here. And since it was close, a lot of kids were like, all right, let's go do it. And that helped us a lot too.
Okay, so what are like some of the common traits with success? Because you've shown and proven that you can turn around programs. When you talk to other coaches and look at other coaches, what are some of the things that you see in them that you also see in yourself and just successful programs in general?
Right. It varies on communities. I think in smaller communities like ours, I had a lot of people reach out to me, especially in field hockey, like, how did you guys turn that around? I said, well, we got involved with the youth kids and working with the younger kids and then going that way. And there's a lot more. I'm proud to say there's a lot more youth field hockey programs now coming around. Baseball, there was a time when Babe Ruth was rich. It was great. Everyone was playing it. I played it. I coached it for a while. Some of my players that went into college played Babe Ruth. It's kind of been drifting away lately. So there's so many travel baseball programs now around that people can pretty much get on any team at this point. But like I said, it's great to see our guys play together at times. So even in our case, a lot of the kids that played on a travel team also still play Legion with us because they like that team aspect, and that that helps out grow from that. And so that was one of the things that baseball people, like, you got to get something going off season. You can't just do the 3 months and get out. Some of the baseball, softball, and field hockey people told me, you're absolutely nuts. I'm so tired at the end of the year, I don't want to do any of that. They're like, winning's not that important to us. And I was like, well, it is to me. I'm a competitive guy, and I work at a job where I'm building maps and doing stuff every day, but I don't get to see the end product like I do in college, in sports, where the more you work, the stronger you see the team get better and the program get better. I work very hard at my job, and I like what I do, but this is a totally different aspect. So when I leave there and would come over here, it's just rejuvenating. And I'm 53 years old now, but when I'm coaching during the season, I still feel like a kid. And I love being with them and working with them and just seeing the emotion they have, and it really makes me feel young. So I'm not only helping them, they're helping me. And I think that's why it works really well too, is we're both getting something out of it. It's not just a coach coming in and collecting a paycheck or something like that.
You've already touched on like the differences between different genders and the way that they respond and how you need to coach them in order for the team to be successful. But in terms of strategy, how it differs from baseball to field hockey, what do you see there?
There's very little similarities. That's why I'm pretty proud. I don't think there's too many coaches in the NHIA history that have won a state championship in each sport. So these two sports, they're very unique. I love the strategy in field hockey. I absolutely loved it. And stepping away this winter, that was the hardest part for me in that end of it, because I love coaching the games and getting the girls, pumped up, and just the strategy of the sport. It maybe because it's harder for me. I grew up playing baseball. I know baseball inside and out really well. Field hockey, I didn't. I had to learn working with my daughters and studying it. There is a few similarities to ice hockey, which I grew up playing. but I really had to put a lot of effort into coaching field hockey. Long nights, thinking about things, and going over a lot, talking to my assistant coaches. I definitely put more strenuous hours into field hockey than baseball. Baseball is more natural for me. Field hockey was different that way, but the reward was great. I mean, I still, I'm not coaching now, but I go watch college games right now, and I see certain things. I'm like, oh, they should be thinking of them. I'm like, all right, stop thinking as a coach and just think of it as a parent, because now I'm just going around watching them. But the strategy and what goes into a field hockey game, a lot of people don't understand a lot of the rules and stuff. But there's a lot to it, and I just loved that part of the game. And even down to corners, last year going into the playoffs, we were starting to struggle with our corners a little bit. We revamped them, totally changed them, came in, and the semifinals, all 4 of our goals came on corners. It was like, man, that worked. And the satisfaction that, yeah, you get tired and you're really probably way overthinking all this stuff, and you're not falling asleep till 2 in the morning. But when something like that works, it's just like, yes, it's that competitive side of you that gets so energized. And it's unbelievable, because I looked back this summer with my wife and I, when we were just sitting down having lunch one day, and we're like, it's amazing. We were counting, and there was well over 30 kids between field hockey and baseball here at John Stark that have at least played 1 season of college sports, which,
wow.
I was just amazed. We did, you get so caught up in what you're doing, you don't realize it. And we had 4 kids playing at New England College this spring. It was so great to see them play together, and they probably all could have maybe played at a higher level, but they wanted to play with each other. And that aspect of what we have here at John Stark with baseball, I don't know too many other schools that have that. Yeah, we fell short in the semifinals, but it had nothing to do with our team, how good they were, and how much they pulled for each other. We had an off day. Baseball single elimination is probably the worst sport to have single elimination when it comes down to pitching.
True.
We had the best player by far in the state, and I think, arguably maybe the second. They're not going to be perfect all the time, and those two are going to, do very well in college. When Chase gets the chance to, and Anthony, I can't wait to see him play already. But I've never seen a high school kid have a season like Anthony Pelletier did for us this year, and we really rode that wave. The only tough part is, I think maybe sometimes we relied too much on him and Chase, and I think that finally affected us at the end. That they had good games, they didn't have their A game.
How do you develop more depth in your team going forward into this upcoming spring?
So that's where it helped to have Legion. Even kids that might have had 10 at-bats during the season in the spring, they weren't starters all the time in Legion, but I looked and they still had 50-something plate appearances, things like that. So that was very good to have them get their opportunities. And I'm one of the very few high school coaches that coaches Legion, that varsity head coaches that coaches Legion, but I think it benefits us, because I think it gets the kids to come too, because they want to play. That is important. The off-season stuff we do, but we got a pretty good team coming into 2025. Anthony's a huge player to replace, and Hunter Kime's leadership is amazing. Delton Williams had an all-state season on the mound, so pitching is gonna, after Chase, we got a good competition going. We got a lot of potential. They all have their strengths and they'll have their weaknesses, but I'm hoping that those 4 or 5 kids will really take the competition and work towards it.
In both field hockey and baseball, can you describe a little bit about each of your state championships and what those signify to you?
Yeah, baseball was special in a lot of ways. That was the year after COVID, so we felt, we were in very good shape to win 2020. We had a kid that was run-up for Player of the Year coming back. We had a very strong junior class, some good sophomores, but stuff happens. I know we look back in history and like, oh, we could have played, but that summer I think was the turning point of the summer of 2020. Nobody would sponsor a league. Everyone was afraid to be sued. We put 2 leagues together in the state, all by high school coaches. One of them, was kids that were 19 and under, and the other was 18 and under. We did 18 under because we wanted, all kids that were in high school. What amazing baseball. It's the best baseball I've seen in New Hampshire since I've been coaching, because all the kids that normally go play travel and go all over the place weren't allowed to. So we all had them here. I had, kids that were, I had a kid from Bedford. Most of our kids were from Johnson, but one kid was friends with Brett from so he came played with us, and it was just amazing baseball. And Coach Chase now is the assistant coach at Castleton. So Coach Shipley, the head coach, came down to watch us play. He goes, I've just been spending so much time in Virginia and North Carolina, and this is every bit as good, if not better. I'm like, this is what happens when we take all the New Hampshire kids and put them into one small group like that. It was amazing baseball, and we lost in the championship 1-0 on a ball that went by the catcher like 30 feet. And our guy slid and his foot was too high going in or something like that. But it was just amazing, and that, I think, is where it jump-started our 2021 season. A lot of those players came back with us, and they had played all summer. A lot of schools and a lot of towns didn't do anything. That was their choice. I got criticized by a lot of people for having them play baseball that year. It was pretty tough. I was taking a lot of punches, but I knew the kids needed this. They needed something. They needed to get out of the house and do something.
Absolutely.
And baseball in a wide open field, we had to change the baseballs and spray them down and all kinds of stuff. But it allowed them to be kids for 2 months. And our games were played at the middle school down the street here, a very, very average field. We had people lined around, all around the field, because people were dying to do something. So they came out and watched our games. And that semifinal game, I've never seen that many people from Weare in one spot at once. It was amazing. But I'm telling you, Drew, that's where things really started to jumpstart. And we've been on a pretty high since then. Like I said, in a single elimination playoff, it's very difficult in baseball. But man, that run in 2021, we had two senior captains that really shined and took off. Brady Philibut was amazing hitting. The best thing about Brady beyond his hitting was his shortstop play was flawless. He would never make errors, and that's not a position you can see that from very often. It's very rare. Brady was far from flashy, far from like super athletic, just an amazing baseball player. Great hands, and he could hit like nobody else. And when we went to play Hanover, Hanover had won every one of their games that year. And the playoff seedings were all randomly put. So they were randomly selected, making it very difficult. So we had to play 5 games. I believe we're the only New Hampshire baseball state champion to have to win 5 games to win a championship. I don't think that's ever been done before, because they've always had 4 rounds.
Heard of 5, yeah.
So we had 5 rounds because they said everyone makes the tournament. And we got handed like the 5th or 6th seed in our bracket, which was Stevens. It was funny because they didn't want us to travel more than 15, 20 minutes. But then we ended up playing Stevens and Hanover back to back. And then, Austin Hazard. I mean, he was up for Player of the Year that year. The kid that won it was going to a D1 university, so they felt he was the most talented player. But the season that the kid had on the mound, he wanted the ball in every clutch situation and felt like he was the best pitcher in the entire state during that run. And when your pitcher is out there with that kind of confidence, it was pretty special. And to this day, I've never seen a pitcher go out there with that kind of confidence. Sure, there's a lot of pitchers that have better stuff than Austin, whatever, but just the sheer guts and determination he had during that stretch, that was really special. And to cap it off, Austin's dad volunteered to help us that year in the dugout. So to see his son win a state championship, to be in the dugout and the tears flowing out of his eyes, that was pretty special too. So those group of boys have always been special to me, and I still talk to Brady and Austin and Brett Patnode all the time, and Aaron Robertson. It's just like the Austin's dad always says, they're your boys. And I was like, yeah, they're still very special to me, and they know it. And I'm almost tearing up. I'm not an emotional guy, but they meant so much to me that year in that group together. Every year we have sophomores and freshmen on the team. Not that year. It was all juniors and seniors, and it wasn't intentional. They were the best ball players we had. And it was a unique situation for us, being that small, to just have a team of juniors and seniors. And they were very tight. This year's team was just as tight. and we fell short just barely, but they were very similar. And I'm hoping that I can keep in touch with them as well as I have these guys. Anthony is a very special player, very special kid. Hunter, I coached his older brother Tyler in my first year of varsity. He was arguably the best pitcher we ever had before Anthony's season. He was that good. So from that side, that meant an awful lot to me. Field hockey, that first one, that was a battle in that. But to see where we came from as a community in that sport to that day, that's pretty tough to beat. You're pretty much starting at absolute ground zero, and to get to where we got with the effort that myself and my assistant coach Gretchen had put in for years, that meant a lot. That was pretty amazing. They're different, but they're both just as important to me, but they're very different in that way. It's just what all that time and all the years and all the community, getting involved with field hockey and coming to that culmination was awesome. Last year was another amazing year. We struggled at times on the emotional side of things. When you start getting very good, we have a lot of good players, and not all those players can play at once. There's only so many that could be on the field. So that became a challenge. A lot of times people said, it's a great challenge. I'm like, yes, but it was difficult to work through at times. What was special to me at the end, again, winning a championship, but my daughter Addison was in goal for the second half of the championship game, made 2 consecutive saves, and the second one being, a splendid one. I'll be honest. I never really pushed her accolades much, but she made an unbelievable save that not many kids in the state would have made. And we ended up winning 1-0. So, that from a dad standpoint, the dad standpoint finally kicked in there. It is tough to keep that emotion, because I always, anytime she would do something good, I'm like, I can't overly preach. So she did not get, it was actually more difficult for her, and a lot of people thought she was getting it easy. It was the other way around, because you don't want to be perceived as that person. So for my oldest daughter, Bella, she's the one that got me into field hockey. In 2014, she started playing in Bow at the youth program, and she asked me one day, Dad, why don't we have field hockey in Weare? We're just as big as Bow. I'm like, you need somebody to start it. She's like, you're good at starting baseball stuff. Can you try field hockey? And that's where it started. So, Bella had a great career for us here. Bella is nowhere, she's not the athlete my younger daughter is, but she loves the sport more than anyone I've ever met. She's playing in college right now. She's a role player for her college, but the fact that she got to play college, years ago, people were like, there's no way this girl can be playing college. But she worked her butt off, and she is where she is today. And I know it's that story, but that if she never said, hey, why don't we ever start field hockey and Weare, a lot of this stuff would be here. And it's kind of crazy. Baseball-wise, yeah, we would be Weare, but the field hockey stuff, it was pretty much started by my daughter saying, let's do something. So it's a pretty unique story. So it's so that's why the three they're all different, but they all mean the same to me. But one of the best things from the baseball side of things is I see ex-players coming here all the time. They come visit. They come. Aaron's coaching Junior Legion with us. I'm hoping one day, I'm really working with those 4 guys they could take over this. They can take over the Legion. I would love for them to do that. They're in position to do that. Brett's going to be the graduate assistant coach at NEC this year. So it makes me feel really good when your ex-players keep coming back. And we had a whole bunch coming this year. And I had a player from the 2021 team, he had called me a text me, I don't remember. He lives in Idaho, and says, I've been watching every game on Game Changer every day. He goes, I am so proud of you guys and this and that. And I was like, that's really cool. So the invention of Game Changer and video streams has allowed people, the ex-players, to see that, and that's pretty cool to see that.
Last thing for your coaching resume is you also coach travel softball.
Yeah. So this is a unique one. My daughter Addison, she's a 2-sport athlete, and softball she just played, and then the COVID year kind of messed things up, and then she tried out for middle school and didn't make it in 7th grade. She's like, I'm like, well, you can go 2 ways. You can do more stuff and get better at it, or play lacrosse. So she chose, can you find me a team to play on? So I found a team to play on in an organization, the New Hampshire Lightning. She didn't play a lot, but at the end of the season, the people that run the organization knew who I was from John Stark stuff, and they said, this team that Addie's been on has really struggled, and we'd like to see it turn around, and you're pretty good at changing programs. I'm like, yeah, but I've never coached fast pitch softball. I've only been a baseball coach. And they're like, yeah, but you've coached girls with field hockey and you know baseball very well, and there's a lot of transition. I'm like, well, my wife looks at me and says, well, you're going to be at all the games anyways. So I was roped into that. First year was okay. We made, but a lot of the team, it got handed to me. The second year, we got a lot better. And this year, it was pretty much every kid was one that I selected from, the first team. And we challenged them with some tournaments, and we gave them some opportunities to succeed in others, but they 29-2 this summer. 3 out of 4 championships that were played in our tournaments, they won. So it was amazing. It was a great run. And at one point at the end of the summer, again, we were sitting up at the lake, and I'm like, wow, between the 4 teams, with Legion, Lightning, and the 2 Stark teams, we had like an 86-10 record this summer. I was like, you got to be, how are we that lucky? So it was just crazy.
You're a pretty good coach, I think.
Well, I don't play though. They
Coach
play,
of the year though.
Yeah, they play the game. You can only, put them in spots to succeed, but in the end, they're the ones playing, not me.
Well, you won Coach of the Year for baseball, and you have a ridiculously high win percentage. A lot of wins under your resume.
I think that part is more of the effort that I put into it. I wouldn't say I'm a better coach than other people. I might put in way more effort than others. I love the strategy side of both games. In softball, I actually really love coaching softball. It's a smaller field, more bunting. We won a tournament semifinal game, I think, on a suicide squeeze. It was really, really cool. But we're taking those girls now and we're going to push them up 11. They're all 16U, but we're going to push them all up to 18 because they played that well. I'm like, all right, now it's time to challenge you. We've got you confidence now. So it was in stages. Get used to it, get the skills. Now it's build confidence, and now it's push you against tougher competition. So that's kind of what we're going with that. But that's a unique thing because it's not just kids from one town. That's what makes this at John Stark so special is we have a very small pool to pull from. And even in Legion, we don't have many towns to pull from. But we challenge and play people hard. And that says a lot to the kids that I've been able to coach in baseball and field hockey is that, we're like towards the bottom of Division II, but we'll play anyone. In both sports, I was like, I don't care. I'll play Londonderry. So if they beat us, they beat us. But we weren't afraid to ever play anyone on our list. And, that was kind of what we're just trying to teaching confidence, especially in baseball and softball. They're sports of failure.
True.
You have to learn how to, whoever can treat that failure the best and make it better after that, usually succeeds. And I have this conversation with my youngest daughter because field hockey and softball is very different. Field hockey, she gets on that field. She's an amazing goalie, makes saves, gets a bunch of shutouts. Softball, she'll have a good streak hitting and then a bad streak. It's like, what's different? I'm like, that's the sport. Your swing is the same. You're a hair off. Field hockey, she could be a hair off, not in softball. So the hitting in softball and baseball is so difficult that it tears at the kids' emotions. So you have to be there to support them. Remind them that if you're playing baseball varsity at John Stark, you've got to be a pretty good player. We've got a lot of good players here. So if you're on the team, you're pretty good. You're not this kid that just went 0 for 10 with 5 strikeouts. That's not you. You're just having a bad little stretch. But that's the tough thing about baseball and softball is you have to stay on that confidence side of a lot. But that's why it's such a great game. Those two sports together are I just love every second of being on a field, and it's the competition is awesome, but the strategy and everything you have to put into it, and seeing a kid that was working really hard and struggling, and then all of a sudden they come up with a big hit. That's such a great feeling.
So in terms of your future, what are you looking at for what you want to do? Obviously, it sounds like you want to continue coaching for as long as you can. Mm-hmm. And What are you aiming to accomplish? Another state championship before, you know, a certain number of players graduate, or a certain number of wins? Do something with the program?
I think the smartest thing for me to do right now is just one at a time. Years and years ago, I struggled with panic attacks, and I was always thinking about the future and the past. And through learned to put more things in my life with being in the moment more. So I try not to get too far ahead. I'm very excited this fall that I am basically going to be on the road after work almost every day, driving to some field hockey field in New England to see Addison play for Cushing and Bella play for St. Joe's University. So University of St. Joseph. So it's like, that's going to be my thing. Me and my wife had it on the schedule. We're going to go to like 40 field hockey games this fall. So I want to see my kids play. You know, that's important to me. When it rolls to the fall, to the spring, baseball's there, but Addison's also playing softball, and it's tough as a parent. I'm sure you could talk to Coach Chase about this when you're missing your kids' stuff. It is not easy. So that always makes it hard, but I foresee myself still coaching this spring, but you know, they play a lot of games on Saturday, so that'll help out. Prep school plays on Saturday, and we rarely ever do here. So from that end of it, you know, it looks good. And you know, the anticipation from season to season. My wife laughs because she always used to hear me say, "Well, you know, when you know Derek Goldrick's last year, you'll probably be done after that." And it's like, "Oh no, Brett Pat, no." It's, you know, well, Brady Philibot and Austin Hazard. And it's like, "Oh, I know, you know, what about Anthony Pelletier?" Well, you know, you got Chase Philibot. You know? So you know, there's always you know, that thing she would joke with me on, and I'm like, well, you know, there's always going to be, you know, the next one. Hopefully, if we're doing everything right. So I just see us rolling into that. My goal is to eventually just be the program manager for Legion and have one of my younger guys here, you know, Brett, Aaron, Brady, Austin, them be the on-field people. And I'm hoping to start getting them more into that role this year, but I'll still have to be involved probably on the field. But that's what I would like to see. I'd like to have things ready for you know, the next guy to do, and you know, come and watch. But it's tough. I go to some of those field hockey games right now, and I'm like, man, that person should be playing, you know, center mid, and this person over here, and maybe if they took their corners and did this. And my wife's like, shut up, just enjoy the game. So I'm gonna get there, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, that shows really good strength of the program in terms of baseball, that you're already thinking about the future. Yes. And like trying to set it up to be successful because you realize it's bigger than you. It's
way bigger than me, and all I did was, you know, just like the match to get it started. You know, that's how I feel. And when you coach kids, you know, in a good way, in a proper way, they want to come back and do that stuff. Before the playoffs this year, we had 4 of them here helping us out, you know, coming to do scrimmage. 2 of them pitched. We had one team that was on one kid's pitcher, and one kid was on the other team's pitcher, and we played a game. And, you know, one of them was running around shortstop, and the other kid was catching. And I was like, this is amazing that, you know, they still feel part of it. So in 21, when we won the championship, there was a few medals left over. I went right over the crowd, and there was Brett Patnode and Carter Pike. They were 2 captains from our 2020 team that never got to play. I'm like, you guys have earned this, and gave them medals, and it just felt so good to do that. It was for them to get that chance, because they were part of it. They were the older guys that you know, were getting them ready, and it just, you know, it stunk that they weren't there, but they were still part of it for us. And that's how I would like all these guys and girls that have played our program. They were part of where we are now, is because they were part of it along the way.
All right, thanks for your time, Coach. Really appreciate it.
Appreciate it. It was awesome.